they?
East Hampton Town, ARB, we are live.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, LTV. And welcome, everyone. It's so nice to see the community here in this wonderful community that we have. My name's Kathleen Cunningham. It's my privilege to chair this organization. This is the Architectural Review Board of the Town of East Hampton, and I welcome you to our September 28th, 2023 meeting. I just want to start the meeting by acknowledging the passing of Pat Sarlo, Chief Sarlo's mom, and Chris Sarlo's wife. Those of us that know this community know that family well, and we lost Pat, and we just want the Sarlo family to know that our thoughts and prayers are with them at this time during this period of loss. It's nice to be part of a small community, and I know that everybody's gathering around the Sarlos at this time, and it makes me proud of our community in that way. And I'm really glad to see everybody here tonight. I know most of you are here in support of Rowdy Hall, and we all love Rowdy Hall, and we will get to that application as it appears on the agenda. But I just want to explain that the Architectural Review Board conducts public meetings. This is not a public hearing in the classic term, which means we won't be taking public comment on this. So if there was some, I don't know, David, if there's something written, are we willing to?
We being the board's policy for comments from non-applicants is to accept written comments in advance of the meeting that are disseminated to the members of the board and placed in the file.
Right. Right. So if anybody has anything in writing, there was one gentleman that already gave us some pictures. I don't know where he went.
They'll drop off some photos. So if
Yeah,
anyone else has
some
written comments
photos
they'd like to provide, that's fine. But
Right.
just for the sake of efficiency, we're not allowing members of the
Right.
public
And-
other than the applicants to come up and speak.
Right. Right. So I just want everybody to be clear with the, how it works here. So anyhow, so the first order of business will be I need a motion to approve the minutes of September 14th, 2023, please.
So move.
We have a second?
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
You give a second?
Yeah, I got a second. Okay, the first application, comments to Town Board, East Hampton Historical Farm Museum Storage, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-163-6-31, comma 25 and 26, has been withdrawn by the applicant. The second is the Glamour Nail Salon okay, great. That's my application, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-171-1-15. Mr. Gavilanes, is that you? Okay. You could come to the podium. Thank you. Okay, so we've got some photos, right, Jill?
Is it up
Yeah.
there?
Yeah. Let's see now. I have this out of order for some reason. So Glamour Nails was before us a few weeks ago, and the applicant was asked to take another look at what they had on the doors. It was not in harmony with the historic district, and they've resubmitted these. Could you just enlarge that, please, Julie? I think it was better the first time. There you go. Little larger if you can get it. The historic district permits only 20 square feet of signage. In Amagansett, we have two districts. In the commercial district is also an historic district, so commercial applications have to conform also to the historic district criteria. So there are two sets of things that we are required to review and observe. So this is much better. Thank you. This is a big improvement. Yeah. And we thank you for taking everything off the window as we requested. I think that we had a couple of questions. The gray, the way you're showing the gray, I'm assuming the way this page is aligned is depicting what you're planning for the roof and then the windows and the door. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and that the gray ground is just is that meant to be depicting the glass, but you're not going to have a gray background,
No,
right?
That's the glass.
That's just the glass. Okay, great.
It's gonna be clear, and
Excuse me?
it's gonna be clear for inside,
Right. right, okay, I just wanted to be sure.
So what are we looking at?
We're looking at the Glamour Nail Salon.
What are these
So
rectangles?
Okay, so the top is supposed to be, it's right next to,
We could look at a picture
Rosie's?
of the building.
yeah, why don't we get the photo out, Julie? There's a roof, there's like a shingled roof that's sort of flat, horizontal, it presents to the street. And so the top of that, where it said Glamour Nail Salon, that's a sign that's proposed for the roof. What we didn't know is whether it was going to be raised lettering or if that was going to be on a piece of wood that would fit against the
It's
shingles.
gonna be a pieces like, fiberglass thing, it's not heavy.
it's that
Nails
building
on the,
Okay, so it's not going to go on a board. It's not going to go on a rectangular piece of wood that will then be fixed to the building, right? It's just the lettering is going to be raised. Okay. Okay, that's helpful. So that's what we're looking at there. Is the roof there, the roofs will have the Glamour Nail Salon, and then those, the gray mock-ups that we saw earlier with that picture of a globe and a hand on it and the hours, and I forget what other details there were on that. Services available.
That's the two windows?
Yes, those are the two windows,
okay. And
right?
then that's
And
the
here's the
door.
door, yeah. So the calculations bring it within the permitted square footage.
Top is a sign on it.
I think I don't have any particular problem with it. I don't know if you want to take a look at that.
I'm just not exactly clear about the building sign affixed to the roof area. I'm not sure, your description wasn't clear to me as to what it's going to be. You said fiberglass?
yes, fiberglass, it's
So
not,
is it
it's like only letters,
only the letters
On the roof?
pinned to the,
each other and then, go into.
okay.
I think we need more, I need more clarification about the roof, like what's going on. It's hard to tell is this okay. Like I thought that this was an actual board and you're going to mount this.
No,
And then-
that's the roof.
Yeah, that was
So
unclear. That's
every-
why I was asking that.
So go back to the photo of the roof, I guess, Julie?
So this was the initial application, right?
Right.
here. Is that what you're gonna do?
Yeah.
No.
No.
No, but leave that there for a minute.
like it, yeah.
Instead of that particular font, it's going to say that same thing, only in that font.
It's hard to tell what that is. Like, is that at the bottom? Is it centered on the roof? Is it centered halfway up? Is it, and what is are there metal brackets that are supporting it? So these are just details that I feel that
Yeah,
the board needs to know.
Right.
So my recommendation is, I don't think there's enough information to approve the top sign, but if we want to, approve the ones that go on the window and
The
door,
decals or the
Yeah.
window sign.
I'd be comfortable with that.
Yeah, and then
yeah, and then you could come back to us just with,
So what, do you want him to bring in a letter or what is it?
There has to be I need to see
Depiction, a
a
graphic
depiction,
depiction.
I don't know.
Well, I think what we would need is a more precise language as to what the materials are. Like, if Will from Ocean Graphics or whatever the company is comes in and he says they're letters pinned to the wall and they're made of XYZ material, then we never question that. So I think that this is similar to that. So
Well, I
if
don't
we
even-
had that language, would that make it be better?
Well, I need to know, are the letters, is it 90 degrees? Is it vertical? Or is it
It's-
just put
yeah.
on the shingles?
the application describes it as a
Is it halfway up?
PVC
Is
sign.
it centered?
Yeah, we need to, okay, so Frank raises a good point. It says PVC sign screwed into the facade, so,
See kind of Rosie's, how it's like.
Yeah, the roses, we copy the same the roses has.
right.
I also would want to know how big is it relative to the other one? I
To
don't,
Rosie's,
yeah. Or how,
comparable, yeah.
We have that information.
Yeah, I think
I
we
think
have
it's
that
fair to ask,
information.
what is the dimension of that?
Yeah, well, I think we have the dimension. We just don't know exactly where it's going to go on the facade. I think the dimensions are on this here. It's basically 4.5 feet by 1 and almost 1 foot 2 inches. It's not very big.
Now, is the
But I think your comment about placement on the facade is, we don't know exactly where it's going to go. One assumes they'll center it, but it hasn't been so stated, and this doesn't really depict it in a way that makes it easy to understand. So this is supposed to be this PVC. I mean, these seem like, they're standalone? They're going to be standalone letters that,
Every letter gets a bracket?
well, look at it, it's not
All
connected.
the letter has two brackets. It goes on
Okay.
the roof.
So all the letters are connected.
They're connected.
And they're bracketed to the roof surface.
They're connected.
How do they connect?
Because
I think we need a real rendering of what this is going to look like.
Can you explain that to me? How they,
All these-
are they they're placed on a bracket and then the bracket is put on the roof?
No, I don't think that's the case. These are independent letters that are somehow connected. I don't know. If it's anything, I mean, how is Rosie's done? Well, we have that language, so I'm looking for it.
Oh, okay.
You can go ahead.
Yeah, well, I feel like I need to know more about how it's going to be affixed to the roof. And I think that when we go back to, to give it the certificate of occupancy, we should have the dimensions of where it is. We see the size of it, but we don't.
That was what we got.
Well, that's better.
I'm just saying that it's not dissimilar to what they've presented.
Okay. And when did we approve that?
2021.
Okay, well, that was before my time.
Yeah,
So,
agreed.
I think the sign is fine. I have no problem with the sign. I think the font is good. I think if we can, get you to give us the dimensions of where it will be placed on the facades, at
you
2
want
feet
to-
down or 3 feet in or whatever that is.
Do you want the dimension of all the roof and where it's going to be centered or something like that?
Yes.
That's all we're really missing. And then,
All right.
so if you could do that, I'm comfortable approving this with that condition unless other people are not.
I don't know, Frank and Chip, what do you think?
That's just me. I'm just not
You're not-
comfortable with.
you're not
the
comfortable.
Roof before I get some more information.
Okay.
Can't hurt to know.
No, I don't disagree. I just feel like it was, okay. All right, so why don't we approve the decals and then we'll wait on the roof sign. So I'd like to make a motion that we approve the design for the sign, for the decals, for the windows and the door of this establishment, and then we'll revisit the sign for the facade when you can provide us we'll get you on as quickly as possible, but if you could just supply that information, I think it'd be the best thing.
Okay.
Okay, can I have a second, please?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so you can go ahead and put on the decals, but then let us know, give us the dimensions on the sign. Okay,
What about the bottom side?
That
Sorry?
you can do.
That
you can do the glass.
we can start doing that?
The glass, we've approved the glass. It's just we need to know exactly where the sign is going on the facade. We need those measurements. We know how big the sign is, but we need to know where it's going on the facade, okay?
Okay,
All right, great, thank you.
thank you.
Okay, Rowdy Hall.
Trust me, they're not here for a character reference.
Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-171-1-14. Okay, this is also mine. And we have a new submission. Can you bring that up for us, Jules, please?
Before we get started, could I just,
Well, the protocol generally is for me to introduce the application, and then we'll ask you for comment. Okay, Mark?
perfect.
Thank you. Okay, so we have a new submission. This is the third go-round of this. As I mentioned earlier, with our nail salon, This is a district that has two sets of criteria that this board must consider before it makes approvals for things. One is changes to commercial, and one is the historic district. How are we doing there, Jewel?
Isn't there anything?
No, there's nothing up.
No, just the desktop. You might want to share the other screen.
Yeah.
Hey, there it is.
Okay, thanks.
YOLA. Okay, so this is the third submission, and we are cognizant and appreciative of all the time, energy, and resources that you've gone through to make this presentation to us, and I would like to recommend that we approve this. I think this works. It gives you the heads and the, all the things we liked about the Rowdy Hall sign, but it's not quite so pronounced a contrast to the other buildings in the community. So that's my recommendation to the board, is that we accept this third submission and look forward to the day you open your doors there. Did you want to say something?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Obviously, in my letter, I stated that in addition to this submission, we also submitted two of our original plans, and those are the ones, we did this out of respect to the board and your request to see another submission. We didn't necessarily like it, all right, but we were addressing, I thought it would have been disrespectful of the board and the process to not submit anything and just come back with the other two. But in my letter, I stated to the board that in submitting this, I numbered each one of the three submissions
Right.
with what we felt we
Yes,
would like.
your preference. Right.
I don't know if that was even considered.
Well, it was considered, and I think that at this point, this is sort of how the process works, is that applicants bring something in, the board responds, and you get that feedback, and if it's not voted on and accepted at that meeting, this is part of the way the process works. So,
Can I ask another question?
Sure.
Maybe David could answer this. I understand that the board has purview over the approval of a color of our business because it lays within the historic district, correct?
It's the exterior, so it's, we have a jurisdiction over the exterior of commercial buildings and also jurisdiction because it's in the Amagansett Historic District. So
Right.
there's dual jurisdiction.
Okay.
And there's more specific guidelines for this particular business because it is located in the Amagansett Historic District. So the guidelines for your particular property are in Appendix A5.
Which I read.
Okay.
So, but this specifically addresses the color of the exterior of the building which exists in this historic district, right? That's what this application is for, as well as the side.
yes, I mean,
So are there houses also within this historic district?
yes.
So I guess my question is, why doesn't the ARB have the same purview for the houses in terms of what those houses within this historic district paint the exterior of their homes, but yet has the right to tell me what I can and cannot do in terms of the exterior color of my home?
Right, I understand the question. It's just the way the code is written. I mean, we are,
Code, there's really no code. The code speaks to contextual, very subjective, because it says it needs to be within the contextual feeling of the rest of this.
right, but I was addressing your question about, excuse me, I was addressing your question about why commercial buildings and not residences. It's, if there's a residence within the historic district, that can come before us. But the commercial buildings come before us, A, whether it's in a residential, historic district or not, and B, especially when it's in an historic district. Amagansett is this is the only commercial district that has those two designations. And the reason we have purview is because that's how the rules are written. I take your point, but
The house that sits on Main Street is not subjective or right off Main Street, but yet is in the historic district, can essentially paint their house whatever color they want without your approval. But yet my building, which is in the same district, you're telling me what I can and cannot do in terms of the paint color.
Well, it's not. The historic district divides into the central business district and then the residential district. So there's guidelines for the historic central business district, which is where your property falls into, versus the residential guidelines. So there's separate guidelines for the residential buildings and then the commercial buildings.
you know, I like the black. I like the way it looks down the village. I'm not, you know.
Why can't it appear?
Because that's not the criteria we apply, Mark. We're not allowed to put what we like. We have to follow these rules. You know,
What rules?
the rules are that it's in a historic district and the colors are supposed to be compatible and not, and have context, be within the context of the
In
district.
context with some of the existing buildings that are there are orange crush, and, you know, it has orange letters and a blue and white stripe on it.
Which I would say has not come before us probably, so you
Well,
could,
whatever.
Right,
You know, that's- but it's there.
oh,
and it
whatever,
exists.
you know.
It's a white building.
You know, and the building that we occupy now, which you guys approve the colors, is 3 colors.
Well, no, we didn't approve it because that's the village. This is the town. We're not,
You're talking about
I'm talking about
building
Main Street Tavern, the building.
oh, Main Street Tavern, sorry, I thought you meant the one.
Colors.
Okay,
All right, it was approved by this board,
I get it.
all right? And
I'm not contesting that.
told by the board that the only, we didn't like it, this is a quote, we didn't like it, but we just got tired of talking about it, so we approved it.
You weren't
Well,
told by the board.
that was, you know,
Comment by one member. That was
but that's not, it's not the point here.
Well, it is the point.
It's, which is why I think this version is acceptable.
But that's your opinion, it's my business.
Oh, my gosh. Okay.
I'm not trying to be hard.
I understand, neither am I.
Come up with
Neither am
colors that
I.
haven't existed. This business has existed for 26 years in a village.
I understand this. I understand this. I understand this.
These are people here in support, not of me as a person, but they are citizens or taxpayers of this community.
Then the answer is to amend the town code. It's not to have us not follow the code
No,
as it
because you're
applies.
approving something that you like,
It's not a matter of whether we like it.
you think is appropriate, excuse me, or whatever the
We're
terminology.
using guidelines, Mark, to review
What are
the submissions.
where's the code that says you cannot use, you can only use these colors? By the way,
A5 paint, subsection 3, says colors of historic buildings should be appropriate to that period and style, take into account significance of evolution over time. Says natural shingle siding or siding painted white along with white trim or appropriate finishes. Other colors used should harmonize with the colors of the historic buildings within the setting of the historic district.
Okay,
Hi, John Tarbett.
hi, Mr. Tarbett.
Can I just ask one question? You said you like the gray and black, presumably because you find that that's in harmony with the historic district. Can you explain to me why black is not in harmony, whereas black and gray is?
Well, because the gray is softer. It's not, the entire black, it would have been the only black building like that. It would have
Not
been,
comparing or contrasting to other
There-
buildings in the district, you're basing it on you want a subtle color.
Could you, David,
no.
would you read that section again
I
for us?
think it is exactly the
I think that to me is
context.
helpful, so I hope it for you is
So
helpful.
the one where it says that,
What you just said about the colors.
okay. So paint, consistency in exterior finishes can enhance the compatibility between commercial and residential buildings and between recent commercial buildings and historic commercial buildings. Like the historic houses, either natural wood shingles or white painted exterior predominate among the commercial historic buildings. Colors of historic buildings should be appropriate to their period and style, taking into account the significance of the evolution over time. Historic buildings with either natural shingle siding or with shingle or clapboard siding painted white should retain those treatments. Natural shingle siding or siding painted white along with white trim are appropriate finishes. Other colors used should harmonize with the colors of the historic buildings and with the setting of the historic district. And then I will add one other thing that says that the alteration or redevelopment of non-historic buildings could have a significant impact on the character of the historic district.
Julie, can you just bring up, excuse me 1 second. Did you just bring up the photos that I took of the, the strip there? Because it might give people a better understanding of what we're talking about in terms of
You're
this
trying to
color.
harmonize this building with the surrounding buildings in that historic district.
Yes,
The question I had was, how does gray harmonize better than black?
I think because,
It's less of a contrast.
Which buildings are white?
the rest of the
All of them.
buildings are
All
plate
the buildings are
glass
white.
windows.
The one that was before you.
Well,
Nick,
this
which
is-
one's white?
Here, look to the left of us. Those are all buildings that have about a 3-foot.
if you could scroll through, please, Julie.
The rest of it is plate glass. Faraday's, Lazy Point, Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Keep
I
going.
really don't see how this building is probably the most historic in terms of its look of the village.
It actually used to be brick painted white, as we know,
Whatever it is.
right?
Well, what, in
So
the
then it
80s?
was
That's not
veneer,
historic.
so,
Okay.
One storefront too at one point when it was just a Sears. It was a single door. Now it's combined into two. So it's
Henry's and Estia's.
right. Yeah. So
it was
it's now
Estia's, McKendry's, then,
as opposed to one. When you,
Henry's
It
was
was too.
black,
yeah, it was. Yeah,
black and gold.
it's one large one that used to be two, right?
Well,
the whole building was black?
The whole
when it was
building was-
McKendry's?
Was, Estia's wasn't. I have a
Estia's was
picture
white.
of the sign. Yeah.
Red.
Right. Anyway,
The other thing is, in your file, you have a letter from Bob Hefner, who addressed the board about this particular building last time. He
Yeah,
was
I think-
hired by the board as their historical,
right.
and he found that whatever the color was last time was fine. He didn't care about the
Was
color
that,
at all.
that was 2008? I thought that was for
That was
the,
the
That was
2008.
2008.
that was 2008? Was this Main Street Tavern one?
No, it was not. That was
But
Indian
but
Wells.
Bob Hefner
Okay,
was
so-
hired by the board as a historical.
We get that, but that letter, when it says it's painted wood, it doesn't refer to which iteration. When you look at
Which color it was painted, because it's been painted in
Yeah.
many colors over the years.
Right.
Right.
Right. So here's,
some are approved, some
You
have not.
have at
so we
least
don't know
one
which
letter from a
Bob Hefner
local
was looking at.
architect, which was submitted today, who lives across the street.
I didn't get that.
I didn't get
Can I
that.
ask, what are we reviewing?
Well,
My
we were-
understanding is we have an application for one color scheme, seems to be pretty well received. So I just,
Yeah, what are we
what's,
deliberating?
what's the issue?
Well, that was my
Like,
next
no,
question.
actually, I don't want to say it. Let me talk. So are you applying for approval of what you presented or not?
I'm applying for approval of what I presented. I presented three things, and I said in my letter, and I numbered them in terms of what we would like as a color.
Prefer,
Again,
right.
I submitted this last one because you requested it, and I didn't think it would be right to not do any submission and just send you a letter and say, we are not submitting, or not addressing your request, and we're only submitting two of the previous ones, and of those two, the black and gold, which we've had for 26 years, is the one that we would like to get approved.
Right.
So we're here to choose between three schemes, is that
No.
right?
No,
Because
The most recent submission is the one that was submitted. The
Yeah.
board already looked at the
Yeah.
one and two. The process doesn't work.
Today, we either approve or deny what's been presented
Right.
to us. Is that correct?
right. And I made the recommendation that we approve the scheme number 3. But
I would advise the board, you have an application before you. You can vote to approve or deny the third option. That's the most recent submission.
third option.
You can't go back and look at old
Yeah.
submissions.
Say what you gotta say.
No.
no,
No.
So just to clarify, we submitted a bunch of different colors for the board because you asked us to. We're not asking for those colors, we're asking for the black. So we would ask,
That's not how that works, Mr. Tarbit. You submitted an option that.
oh, Mr. Tarbit, now that's a great upgrade, thank you. No, that is how, we
Oh,
asked-
no, respectfully, that's not how it works. This is the most recent submission. If there's no new submissions, you wouldn't have been put back on.
no,
They're new
there's an
submissions
application,
within
it's one
this.
application, right?
And then this is the most recent submission. This is what we asked for.
You asked for another rendering, that's a
Yes.
rendering of a different color we don't want.
Well, then why would you have submitted it?
You don't want this?
Out of respect to the board, what if we came here and said, we are not, what would have happened if we came and
It
said,
wouldn't have been put on the agenda.
So Mark, out of respect to you, we didn't deny the application.
asking for you to make
May
a
I
vote
speak a
today
moment?
on the
Because
black bill.
we have given that opportunity now twice for you to come back and present something that we would agree is harmonious with the context.
It's not
Could
like
have
rolling
denied
admissions
it,
here. You
right?
can go back and forth.
well, it sort of is, because.
No, it's not.
At previous meetings.
You
it was
refused to address-
expressed by members of the board that, you know what, maybe the black and gold isn't bad.
Well, that was the first meeting. I wasn't there.
No, it was in the second.
We would like a vote today on the black building.
Well, that's not consistent with what the
You can
application
deny me
was.
the vote, that's fine, but the request is a vote on the black building. That's
That's
the
not what you
application.
submitted, and it was
Other
disingenuous to
renders.
submit the
I'm
application.
having,
And you can
I mean, the only, yeah,
We're not going to vote on it. We're going to table it.
So you're going to refuse to vote
Yes.
on the application before the board?
Because
we're-
this is
no,
not
we're-
the
the
application. You're asking for a
applicant- this
vote on
is
something
what's
that's not part of
before the
application.
board.
Then I respectfully request to resubmit.
Well, that's why we're,
So you're going to withdraw,
One
You
application.
can
before the
withdraw,
board.
yes.
That is the most ridiculous conclusion the town's paying you for that? That's insane.
so you're going to withdraw what you applied to get, you're going to withdraw what you've applied for our review and approval. Yeah.
That's,
The black
Okay,
building
so
is
then
in
we
there.
table it and we move.
yeah, so then we have to table it.
The table, you can-
You know, I really feel that I'm surprised that that you would have submitted a color scheme that you didn't want, because
Asked for.
as we have gone through this process, we asked you to find something that was more contextual to the community. And let me finish, please, Mark. And then when this came in, I was like, yes, this looks so much better. I'm sure the board will approve this. This is going to work. So this is why we have you on the agenda, because you submitted something new for us to review. Now, I understand from you now that you did that out of respect, but yeah, I get it. But I understood from your letter that, you know, in your preferences, that this was your third preference, and I get that. But I didn't understand it to mean that you're submitting it, but you won't accept, you're going to withdraw it because you only want the black one. That's what's confusing me. I thought this was you know, we'd done this twice, and there was, you know, a lot of pushback on the black and the black and the red, and we should tone it down and all the rest. And this, I think, I was, like I said, relieved to see it, because I thought, oh, this will work.
And it
But-
looks very nice, don't you? Mark?
And respectfully, I say this, in your opinion, it's a subjective opinion.
Can I just say, hang on.
And that's not to be meant.
Hang on. At this point, I have to say, if the whole point of this exercise was to come before us to present this, bring everybody here to present something to us that you don't want and you say we're going to withdraw, you just wasted everybody's time.
I don't look at it that way.
Okay, well, let's not go there. Let's not go there.
So
It's been a waste of our time.
Okay,
have the information
I understand.
to vote on the black building. So I don't sure, why would you adjourn this and put off a decision when you have, you're not asking for any additional information, correct? It's gonna
You could have
change.
said, I don't like this rendering, and that in fact, of the three that you've submitted, we do like and will approve the black and gold one.
That was a hope.
That was your hope. I understand. But that's not what happened. So I opened this whole thing by saying,
There's nothing to stop the board from voting to approve.
number 3, I would like to recommend the board approve
not.
number 3 and move on.
Yeah, the board could vote to approve this one.
And
approve it.
Yeah, vote,
We can vote to approve
you could
this.
vote to approve number 3. You submitted it.
You're missing the point, part
No,
where the
I-
applicant withdrew that and didn't ask for that.
You
They're
didn't-
asking for the black building. It's a very.
I think you're missing the point. This is what was
You think
submitted.
you can deny something the applicant says they don't want?
We're not denying this.
Better.
We're
Approve
approving
something
this.
the applicant doesn't want.
But this is what you submitted.
No.
What, no
Okay,
applicant
okay,
ever
all
has
right, so
submitted
then we'll just table it. We'll just table it. We won't make a decision tonight. We'll just table it because you want to withdraw it. I'm sorry, I'm talking and I can't hear you when I'm talking.
Well, because you haven't answered the question. What additional information do you need to make a vote on the black building?
It's not before us.
It's
not.
not before it. It's,
Is he asking us to vote on it? so
And it's
that we
part
can-
of this letter.
Is there a
I
lawyer?
think that's what he's trying to do, yeah. See, the way this works is people submit an application
Wish you had that power.
with a color scheme and something for us to review. We've done this a couple of times. You submitted, this was a newer version. We asked for a newer version, you sent the newer version. So this is the newer version. This is what we're meant to be reviewing. That's what I said when I opened this part of the meeting. I don't feel, I think if you want to withdraw this, I would ask you to do that, and we'll table it, and we'll take it up at another time.
Withdrawn as of, by his
As at
letter.
this moment.
Right now, we've withdrawn.
Withdrawn by his letter.
Everything other than the request for the black building is withdrawn. And we're asking for a vote on it. And I understand you say you're refusing to vote on it, but you're not giving me a reason for why you can't vote on it.
No, well, I'm not, you
Trust me,
know.
I've done this for a long time. I'm not making this up. This is how it works.
David, is this how it works?
You know, I think we'll just vote to table it. I think we'll table it and,
But you don't want any additional information, just going to table it?
well, I think what you should do is, reapply with the thing.
What you actually want.
With the,
Application before the board. Can't
John,
reapply.
if you want me to answer the question, you got to let me talk to you, honey. I would reapply. I would send in one thing. I would say, this is what I want. This is all I'll settle for. And then we'll vote on it. And it'll either be approved or denied.
So the current application is
The current application is this.
Kathy, why don't
And I'm prepared to vote on this.
we do that?
And, but if you're withdrawing it as part of this meeting, that's your privilege, and we will table it, because that is what is before us now. This version of this building is before us.
Most recent application was this.
I understand. I have it in front of me.
September 13th. The other ones say July and August on them.
Hold it. Now,
Yes.
are you serious? Did you not read this letter?
I read your
all
letter.
read the letter.
Contents of this letter?
I read your letter.
So you're saying that on the basis of a date that's included? in
No,
this?
I
What he's saying
understood
is
from
those
your
are
letter
all
that
your
this was your
The
preferred,
history of it.
that the black was your preferred.
Submitted.
all renderings.
Would you please?
You're just refusing to vote on the black building,
Okay,
So it's.
because that's how we get to the next.
maybe we'll just, should we just vote on this then?
Yes.
And David, just vote on this and,
Before you was withdrawn.
I would withdraw it and table it
Okay.
and
All
have them
right,
submit
so
a
we'll
single
table it.
application with what they actually want.
Right.
And then we can vote on that
Okay.
when, they submit.
That is a
Okay.
disgrace to this
Okay.
town.
Thank you, Mr. Turbin.
okay. Well, I'm sorry we couldn't come to a more mutually satisfactory position.
Excuse me, as part of this application, just so I understand, it was for the sign, right? Is the sign independent of the color of the building?
Well, the size of the sign will be, but I think, yes,
The sign approved, like this last one where you approved part of,
we could do that, I guess, if we have the dimensions of it. I think that would be fine.
they were on the original application, right?
I think the original application was for a sign, actually.
Exactly.
So as long as it's within 20 square feet,
Signage, project title, signage and exterior repainting.
yeah. So if we can, if the signage, if the sign is 20 square feet or less,
It's less.
I think it was.
I'm prepared to approve the sign.
Okay.
Okay, so we can
the
vote on that.
The sign based on as
Sign include the heads too.
on
It includes the heads, that's what
the sign on the existing color scheme,
On the black,
on what's built there now,
yeah,
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
just asking for his sign.
yeah. He's asking for a sign, the black sign with the gold lettering and the gold heads.
Yes.
I'm okay with that. That would have, in a perfect world, we would have approved this third version, and that contains the black sign with the gold lettering and the heads.
Right.
So I'm fine with that. Well, we'll have to develop a resolution for it anyway, but as long as it's under 20 square feet, which I think it
recall
is.
it was.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll give you the exact, if it's not in here.
We have it somewhere, Mark. I just don't have it in front of me. I wasn't prepared to segment this out at this time, but I'm willing to do it.
There are dimensions and colors, but I don't have a rendering.
All we need is the dimensions,
The dimension,
Julie.
it's the existing sign.
So this is,
I'd like to let's just move on. If it turns out that it's too big, we'll deal with it, okay? Because this is taking too much time. So I'd like to make a motion that we approve the sign in the colors submitted. It's been consistently black with gold lettering and the two emblematic heads. May I have a second, please?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, all right, thank you. Okay, next up is 221 Panago Road LLC, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 300-188-1-13.1. Maybe we'll wait for the room to clear.
Doing Carissa's first, sorry.
What are you talking about?
Are we doing Carissa's?
Yeah, that is Carissa's.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought
We did approve what you submitted, but this is
he's a family friend, I think, something like that. I don't know. What was his?
It's not. Well, I do what the guidelines say. And the way that you
fun.
can't submit something that you don't want. Like, that's bullshit.
About the
withdraw it in the meeting.
What
doing.
we're doing.
Yeah. Okay, so Mr. Crewley has submitted a new,
Hold on. Somebody's going to have to tell them to
can we close that door, please?
leave the hallway.
They left and came back.
There we go.
Why did they leave?
Thank you. That's it. Okay, great. Thank you. All right, so, Mr. Crewley, welcome. Excuse me?
I said never a dull moment at the ARB.
Oh, you got that right.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for submitting that new window treatment. Came in a little late, but we pushed you on this agenda because,
Sorry, I'll go tell them.
Julie, would you go tell them that they need to, they just ask them to take the conversation outside or to keep it a little quieter because it's hard to hear when the door's open. Okay. So the dimensions of this window are 5'6" by 4. Okay, Diane, why don't you take us through it?
Okay, in our last meeting, the application for the new building was very willingly accepted, with the only question being this second-story window. And now you have submitted two options. This is option B. Maybe we should show.
The initial.
This is, okay.
I know.
Okay, well, option B, I
Yeah,
think it looks
that's not what-
wonderful,
You know,
personally.
sorry about the look.
In terms of proportions, I think it looks great, and I think this rendering of the night sky with what the trees will look like and how it will appear, I think is really, really helpful.
The trees in summer, right?
Trees in summer. Yeah, but the mass,
Just
the mass of
Making
the
sure.
structure.
Yeah,
of
no,
the
I
trees,
agree.
you
I
know,
agree.
it-
Just pointing it out.
Yeah. So we appreciate your coming back to us with a different idea. I find it much improved. And what does anyone else think?
I agree.
Yes.
In terms of option B, I agree, I like it. I'm willing to approve it.
Okay, then let's move along here. So what we're going to do is amend your resolution, Mr. Crewley. We're going to amend the approval from last time tonight, and then we're going to adopt the resolution tonight.
Excellent.
Because we're expediting this.
That's much appreciated.
Yeah. Okay, so we need a motion to, so would you make a motion, please?
To approve this option B as presented with the application for the construction of the new Carissa
Building?
third building, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, with this new second-story window design. May I have a second, please?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Now, all right, so we can just, so the resolution is ready, and we'll just sign that later. Okay, you're good. You're welcome. Okay. Next up is 50 Northwest, oh no, that was removed, right? We postponed that. LLC, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-91-1-20.3, that was withdrawn administratively. We have an extension of time. Stephen Pruce, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-102-7-10. Esperanza, this is yours.
All right, so this is a resolution that dates to July 11, 2019. The resolution was to approve a 5-foot high by 14-foot wide driveway gate with a 1-foot high 2x2 baluster 6 inches on center in the approved drawings. The pillars were to be 5 feet high, 14 inches wide, 5 feet long. So you will see in the pictures, they're like two little walls that come out from the driveway gate.
Julie, can we see the pictures?
Thank you. And the gate was to be located 20 feet from the property line, and the gate and pillars were to have cedar bevel siding. So this is what is built. So as I was describing, those walls on either side are the pillars. That's this, to show the cedar. Could you go a little more slow?
Sorry.
Like, it's like trigger finger. Now, it does say in the resolution that it's a 1 foot high, 2x2 baluster, 6 inches on center. My appreciation of this section of the gate that was indicated to be, as far as I know and understand the resolution, at 12 inches, this is not it. And I think you have the approved drawing, because the one I had in my file was of the original submission, which was originally a 6-foot gate.
What's a baluster? I don't understand what you're talking about.
It's like I had trouble with the word too, but it's the section at the top that has the spindles.
Oh, okay. That was taken off?
Well, no, it's
Oh, it's still there.
but it's small.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, it's not what was approved.
Kind of like.
It's light, but I
Oh,
think
yeah,
it's
it's much
visible.
different.
Yeah. So, overall, the height of the gate comports with the resolution. It's roughly 5 feet high, depending on the grade, sometimes over
But this
a couple of
affects the
inches.
transparency,
But that affects
right?
the
Yeah.
transparency. Yes, exactly. And the other thing, so anyway, I don't need to go into all of that right now because this is really for an extension of time. And I do think that we need to then follow up with the applicant and indicate
Yeah, where the discrepancies
the
are.
discrepancies, exactly, because this is also on for a certificate of occupancy, and I don't think
We
that
can't
that's ready.
recommend it for that. Okay. All right, thanks, Mooney.
Okay, so we can
vote.
vote on the extension of time?
Yeah, I think we approve the extension of time so they can remedy what's wrong. And then once they do that, then we can
Yeah, and
recommend for a CO.
Yeah, one of the things I would recommend is getting an updated survey, because
Mm-hmm.
I think there are structures that are currently on the property that are not depicted on the survey that we have, which dates to
Okay.
2019, 2020.
All right, good.
Okay?
Yep, thank you.
So I would like to make a motion to approve the extension of time for this application.
Okay, may I have a second, please?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, passed and carried. Thank you. All right, next up is, whoops, Miss Sally Management, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-16-2-25. This is Frank's. These are the residents.
Oh, okay.
Yep. Okay. Sorry about this.
That's okay.
This is an application for an extension of time for Montauk Clothing Company, a commercial building in Montauk.
No, Miss Sally Management, right? Montauk Clothing is me.
Oh, I'm sorry. Wait a minute.
Oh, did you?
11 Flamingo Avenue. I'm Montauk Clothing.
Did you do the wrong?
Uh-oh.
Okay. All right, well, let's take a look at Miss
No,
Sally.
because let's, can we maybe move to the next application?
Yeah,
And,
I'll want a Montauk Clothing Company. Okay, we'll just put a hold on number 7, Miss Sally Management, and then we'll move on to number 8, Montauk Clothing Company, Inc., Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-49-6-7. Okay, that's mine. This is for an extension of time. The fee is waived because it's in support of an affordable housing unit. Hi.
Am I supposed to say anything or no?
Well, hi. You could say hi.
Hi.
Hi. Nice to see you.
You too.
No, this is fine. We didn't do it last time because I didn't have the elevations and I couldn't really tell when I went there if it was in support of the affordable housing or not. I thought, I didn't understand it. So this is fine. Unless you have something you'd like to say to us, I'm prepared to recommend the extension of time to meet because you're waiting on Suffolk County Health Department approvals, right?
Pictures of the
Yeah.
shed.
Okay. Yeah, this didn't even come on last time just because I couldn't ascertain whether this was part of the business or part of the residence, the affordable housing unit, and it's a sprinkler system for the affordable housing unit. So, and the pillars and so forth that were part of it were also supporting the deck on the second story. It's anyway. So, unless anybody has any questions or you want to elaborate in some way, this feels administrative to me.
For the record, I'm Christopher DeSuno. I'm the architect for the project. The shed was added to the back of the store to house the sprinkler standpipe to keep it from freezing. That's the purpose of it, and it was just, that's
Yeah.
over there.
And the surfboards come with the territory.
There's
Yeah.
space, so
They come with the territory. Believe me, I understand. I got plenty in my house too. Okay, so I'd like to recommend that we approve this extension of time. Excuse me. May I have a second, please?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, passed and carried. Thank you. So how are we doing there, Frank?
Okay, so this is an application for an extension of time for an application in Montauk at 11 Flamingo Avenue.
This was amazing.
The application states that the previous owner never finished work to close out the building permits. The owner said they bought the building and are simply trying to bring it into compliance. The date of the resolution is April of 2003.
Oh, dear.
Oh, my goodness.
Wow.
This is a small cottage. Julie, if you want to bring up the application, is there a representative for the application?
No, I told him he didn't have to come because it's only an extension of time.
Well, I think that maybe they ought to apply for a new, I mean, that's over 20 years old.
He bought the building and has open COs. He's trying to close the COs.
Yeah, we get it.
You should come.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would have been wise for him to come.
Yeah, well, she didn't know that, so he's not here. So I
Table
think
it for
we'll
him to
table it. We'll table it and we'll write them a letter to say you have to, a new application would probably be. And why are you shaking your head?
Because the building department's making him close these. He's going before ZBA and planning board to close all the old COs.
Okay.
Before going to
Because
do something else.
Open permits with these.
But see, why does he doesn't have COs that you close. If he had a CO, he wouldn't have to close them. You need building
No,
permits.
there's tons of open building permits. So he's going through ZBA, planning board, and us. He's paid over $30,000 in fees to close all of these.
Well, I don't know that I have enough information to understand whether this resolution as adopted
Julie,
is still pertinent to the building as configured. Do you understand what I'm saying? When it's over 20 years old, or nearly so, one can assume that a number of things have changed.
He needs an extension of time to bring the building.
I guess I am sympathetic to the owner, the plight they're in, and
So this is a new owner?
that's what the application says. It would be nice.
Yeah,
I realize we did tell the owner they didn't need to be here, or, didn't need to be
previous owner
here.
never finished work to
So
close
I
the
would say,
building.
Julie, can you bring up the
Building and something trying
application?
to bring into
I just want to
compliance.
show people the scope of work. I mean, the drawings says received December 1993. Luckily, this is a pretty appears to be a simple, and that's what we have to go on.
But that's
So, or actually
1993
bring
is
up the
30 years
resolution
old.
dated. What's
That's
that?
a 30-year-old plan.
It is.
I mean, I'm sympathetic to the person. I'm not trying to be, adversarial. I'm just saying he's using 30-year-old plans to finish the upgrades. I mean, I suspect there have been significant changes in materials that he might even be using.
Well, it is, I would think it's a risk that the owner would take that if we do, let's just say we do give the extension of time, and so there is a ARB approval for him to go to the building department to get a building permit to complete the work that was approved 20 years ago.
Yeah.
There is a risk that we could interpret that it doesn't comply with the resolution. So it seems our task is simply, once the work is complete, to say, does this comply with what was submitted in 1993?
Seems really backwards.
I know that we
So-
have denied other extensions of time that are far less
Distant.
antiquated.
Tabled and have him come in.
Let's table it. because I feel like we don't have quite enough information. I mean, how can we receive June 1993?
Because he's closing.
I assume so.
I understand that.
Some of it might have been built.
Site visit.
Here's actually one thing I don't
Let's hear
understand.
what Frank has to say.
Can I actually?
Let's let Frank finish his evaluation, please.
I'm not an expert in fees and in the way that ARB works, but according to this, there's a $500 is required for the first year's extension of the data, with an additional $500 each for each additional year. So the applicant, according to this, would have to pay $8,500 to get this. I don't know why they just didn't submit a new application for $500.
Yeah,
That is exactly what we are getting at.
Supposed to
that's
submit is,
same
you know,
question.
the board, the criteria for an extension of time is they're supposed to provide a sufficient reason in writing, explanation as to why they're seeking the extension of time. And, you know, obviously, it seems like we're lacking that. So I would advise the board that the options are to table it and have the applicant come in and explain in person what's going on. So it doesn't seem like there's enough information for the board to decide whether or not he's relying on the same plans, if there's been a change in circumstances, because 30 years is a very long period of time.
Right.
And
And also, I was going to say, just for the benefit of the applicant, I wouldn't want to, as a favor to the applicant, I wouldn't want to deny this and incur an $8,000 fee if there was, like, them lose $8,500.
Oh, no. I mean, I think in that instance, we would refund it or something. That's not right. I mean, we're not going to charge them for something we're not going to do, you know, but
Right.
you know, I just think, I mean, I remember there was a gate or a fence or something that someone was trying to do during COVID, and we were all like, well, how come that didn't happen? Because, you know, nobody had anything to do during COVID. It didn't happen. We made him come back with a new application. And this just feels, especially because it's complex and that it needed variances and so on.
This is what the building department told me to do.
Okay, that's fine, Jewel. We're not, this isn't on you, okay? We just needed more information. And if we need to just slip it on to the next, you know, if we can, David, maybe you could talk to Joe and see what his take on this is. I just find it highly irregular that we would grant an extension of time on plans that are 30 years old.
yeah, I typically in that situation, they submit a new building permit application
Yeah,
for it.
yeah.
That said, and I don't, we want to go down this rabbit hole. I would understand if there's something where code may have changed and all of a sudden they have to resubmit something to the building department, and then all of a sudden things have changed.
Well, then that's a basis
To
for
me.
extension of time would be denied, actually, change in circumstance. If the laws, you know, has changed since then, it's.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's part of the reason why there's a time limit, is you get this done during the time limit so you don't lose your approvals, because they're based on circumstances at that time, and there are code changes that happen. I mean, especially over a 30-year period.
Yeah.
I can't imagine there's not some, well, anyway, let's just table it. We won't act on it tonight. We won't deny it. We'll just table it, and we'll find out a little bit more. Okay. So fences, walls, gates, and berms, Joy Shore, Suffolk County Tax Note number 300-156-5-10.2 has been withdrawn, administratively postponed. Matthew Wallier?
That's pretty good.
Oh, thank you.
I go by Wallier, but
Okay.
the French go by Wallier.
Well, there you go. See, I took French, that's why I know. Suffolk County Tax Note number 300-63-6-3. This is for a fence, and Mr. Wallier is present. And Chip, this is yours.
So this is an application to approve existing extensive deer fencing on a 9/10 of an acre lot in the most remote part of Springs I've ever visited. Property is a flag lot off Winterberry Lane, which is a very small road, which is off of the very end of Talmadge Farm Road, and this is all sort of near the Springs Pizza. Applicant has fenced the entire sides and backyard and a tiny portion of the front yard with plastic mesh deer fencing. The height of the fencing and the poles exceeds 8 feet in almost all locations, 8 feet 8 on the back property line, 8 feet 4 closer to the right side of the house where there's a set of gates, and 8 foot 3 on the other side of the house where there's another set of gates. The pair of gates on either side of the house themselves are 6 feet 3 inches and 6 feet 5 inches. So there are the gates. They flank either side of the house, and there's sort of a picture of the back lot of the house where there's a pool in the center. The most concerning thing to me about this application is the deer fencing appears to be the functioning pool fencing in a couple locations in the back. And I don't think we've ever approved deer fencing as pool fencing. So I think you need to address the better pool fencing. There's a portion on the left-hand side of the house where the only fencing is deer fencing. Other parts, you have wire 4-foot fencing that appears to be pool fencing. I'd like to give you a chance, Matthew, to explain how all this came about.
Well, I bought the home in February of 2019. The existing fence was there. I had the property actually CO'd.
Existing deer fence was there?
Existing deer fence was there. Well, there was an existing fence that was on average 4 to 5 feet that was there.
And that's in places, yes.
And that was never touched. The fencing was never removed, never taken down. We've only extended on top of that fencing to prevent deers from coming in, because every time my kids go in the backyard, they come out with ticks on them, right? So to stop them, we extended the fence that was already there, which was already CO'd when I bought the home in 2019.
So you
I didn't
say you extend the fence, you put up the new deer fence.
I just, so, 4
That was the
foot,
wire
maybe
fence,
5
yeah.
foot fence,
Yeah.
and then just put deer fencing on top of that to
Yeah.
make it higher. So to us, it was already approved, and a couple things that I've learned with owning previous homes is make sure things are CO'd before you buy them. It's one of my kind of demands when we closed on the house. So the previous owner went and got an updated CO for that fencing, obviously to provide coverage for the pool. We just added on top of that.
Right, the pool fencing is required.
Of course.
Yeah.
But I don't think all the pool fencing is there. On the left side of the house, if you stand and look at the front door, there's a section where there's just deer fencing and there is no wire 4-foot fencing. I don't know whether the deer fencing people took
I
it
mean,
down.
that was there. The town CO'd that. I didn't touch any of that.
Okay.
You know what I
Well,
like?
I mean, let's just deal with the deer fencing. So the question before the board is, this deer fencing exceeds our guidelines by a bit.
So I would just ask you, you have the property card to know what was CO'd or not?
What has there been any fence?
And also, you're saying, I mean, pool fencing, like regulation is 4 feet and it has to be wire. And I
This is
heard you said
plastic.
plastic, which I don't think can be used.
Oh, my gosh, Barry
So-
Mackin, he was
So
the math
let me
teacher.
give you a little bit more, information. So we had the home CO'd in 2019 when we bought the house. We didn't touch any of that fence. We went to go close out. We added a spa, and we pulled permits to add that spa. The town came out, approved everything for that fence, for everything except the height of the fence. They couldn't approve unless I came here to get the height of that fence
That's most recent.
approved.
Okay.
They approved the fencing itself, right? The gates and all, their self-closing gates and all of that, they approved, all that was fine. The part that was not fine by them was the height of the fence. So that's really what the town, sorry. go ahead.
Okay, this says
No, I was just going to say,
Vinyl swimming pool with proper-
technically,
proper fencing,
I mean,
dual deck and.
just to make something clear, they don't approve a fence. They only check to see if it complies with zoning. So only the ARB would approve a fence that doesn't conform to the zoning. That, so I just sort of want to state that, I don't know if that makes sense, if that's clear enough, but when we talk about what's been approved, they're fences that comply or fences that don't comply. And if fences don't comply, the only body that can approve it is the ARB, so they refer it to us.
Right, so if they've approved that 4-foot fencing that was there, so that they shouldn't have approved that fencing, that approval?
Well, that would, I was saying that sounds like it complies, so it's a 4-foot fence, so it complies.
In 2019, that fence probably was the pool fencing, and that complied.
Right.
And everything is all still there from 2000.
Right, because the fences run, I think your deer fencing actually goes to the ground. It doesn't start at the 4-foot section. I think it goes all the way down where I started.
Leaning against.
This is,
No, I think the fence, the landscaper just, he probably put it, say this is the top of the 4-foot fence, he probably put it down here for support, but he just added right, that extra part to prevent the
Well,
deer from.
let's look at the photos. On the right, on
how
the sides of
remote?
these gates, there's no wire fencing. That's all deer fencing. So I don't know what, I mean, that's just the only fencing I saw.
But how remote is it? I mean, does anybody see this?
No, it's down to dirt, essentially a road that's partially paved, partially dirt, and then this is a cul-de-sac, and then this is a flag lot off a cul-de-sac.
Yeah, and then
It
the
looks like
driveways.
the only fencing that has approval on the property card is for the spa or the pool fencing.
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah. But at some point, you brought this fencing in front of the house. On the right-hand side of the house, it makes like a big peninsula and comes out towards the driveway.
Right.
So that fencing, I mean, this fencing should always be behind the front of the house. It can't come in front of the house. Why did you create that little section there where it pops out from the front of the house?
I mean, if you can kind of, if you could kind of see the way the house is over here in that middle picture,
Yeah.
right? That's, the fencing was, so this right here is the edge of the house.
Yeah.
Not this picture, this right here is the edge of the house, right? So, and then everything in front of the house, there's nothing, right?
No, that's not,
usable.
no.
So
On the right side of that gate, it makes a big blob and comes out towards the driveway, yes.
what
Yes,
like this comes out?
yes.
That's the way they had it, I don't know. I mean,
Okay, but your fencing can't be that high in front of the house. It might be this high behind the house, but it can't be that high in front of the house. It's over 8 feet tall.
well, yeah, and that was the problem that the inspector had, right? And he said, go in front of the review board and see, and try to get that height fencing approved. Like, the question that was asked by, I forget who asked, is how remote is this? I mean, nobody can see this.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm surrounded by nature preserve on the sides and the back.
How tall is that fence?
What's that?
It's 8 feet 5, 8 feet 6 at different ports. It's,
So the board
You need it that high to keep,
Excuse me.
to keep the deer out. Or
Yeah.
my kids have ticks all over them.
We can't
The
approve.
board can only approve, the highest fencing that the board is able to approve in the rear and side yard is 8 foot. There is a section that authorizes higher fencing upon a showing of exceptional circumstances, which, to be totally honest, that has to be a written finding, and there's not evidence on this record that sufficiently supports showing of exceptional circumstances. So that being said, the code permits as of right in the rear and side yards fencing up to 6 feet. You can have, the board can approve up to 8 feet. So 8 foot 5 inches is something that's beyond this board's authority to approve.
Right.
Just as a threshold issue. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah, thank you, David.
so your fencing is too high. I
Yeah,
mean,
we can't approve 8 feet 5 inches. We could approve 8 feet if we decided that was worth doing, but your fence is already beyond what we are legally permitted to approve.
What's your recommendation?
My recommendation is that you cut everything down to 8 feet, but, and you remove that sort of peninsula that comes out in front of the house to the,
That's always been there.
yeah, well, that's great, but it can't be that height there. You
You
can,
mean this little bit here?
And it was approved,
Yeah.
and it was approved before.
Yeah. This. is
I
the
went through,
peninsula.
I went through to make sure that I bought a home that was CO.
No, we understand that, but
Now I'm being told, I understand the 8'5", I get that. But the peninsula was
at 4
it's
feet.
a certificate of occupancy.
We understand that.
That should mean a lot.
No, I understand that, but the point that we're trying to make is that it's not the existence of fencing there. It's the existence of 8-foot 5-inch fencing there. If you brought it down to 4 feet, I think there would be no problem. Or even 6.
But it's been there. Okay, it's
No,
been
in the
there.
front of that, but
And it's, no one can see it. Like, someone asked that question, how remote this is, like,
I understand, but that's not one of the,
why is that an issue? to
because the
have
code says you can't have that high a fence in front of your house.
right,
You have it behind
we
your
are
house.
bound, we are bound by the,
Have 8 foot behind your house, right? That's why I have to come here to get that approved.
you can't have 8 feet anywhere without our approval.
Exactly, yes.
And you particularly can't have it at 8 feet in front of the house. We don't even approve it in front of the house at 8 feet. We approve it more like 6 feet because of the way our code is written. It's not a discretionary issue for
I mean,
us.
what do you need that? Why don't you just square it off and make it like, would you regularly be? Why do you have that
I
peninsula?
mean, this is all green here. You know, my kids, they play baseball along, wait, where am I?
Yeah, that's right. That's the front of the house.
Is where the gate is?
House, this is the peninsula you're
Yeah,
referring
yeah.
to, right?
Yeah.
This, you wanted to cut it straight
Yes.
this way. I mean, that's just land I'm throwing away. It's not gonna be in use. You know what I mean? Like, I
We understand, but I think, sir, you're,
like to play.
yeah.
like
I see,
baseball
but I see
along.
why it jumps out because of the
And it's always
driveway,
been- And
no?
I bought it that way.
Follows
But
the
you bought it with 4-foot high fencing.
follows the
there.
driveway.
Based on the property.
It's still, the
But
problem is
I
that it's
raised it
that
all up
high
to 8
there.
because the deer were getting over the 6.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, like now you tell us that, you keep saying to us, they approved it, and now you tell us that you raised the fence?
Yes.
He did.
Okay, well, and that's.
Okay.
That's why I'm here. I
Okay,
raised the
but you
fence.
kept presenting your
Okay,
argument. that
okay, let's
this was
ratchet
all
this back,
approved, This was
please.
all approved.
Let's ratchet this back.
When I bought
I
the
think
home
that
in
was,
2019.
I think it was Mr. Wallier's impression that because he had a certificate of occupancy, that everything that was on the land was approved. He added height to the fence. That is not approved. He's here now for approval for that. And we're telling you which parts of that fence we can approve and which parts we can't. And we're not in, I mean, I don't want to approve 8-foot fencing in the front yard. The peninsula, as we've been describing it, extends into the front portion of your yard. If you were to square it off, I think I could settle with 8 feet there, but I just don't think that having that in the front yard, that's a defined term in the code, where the front yard is, where the backyard is, where the side yard is. But right now, that seems to be the issue that's discussed. We cannot approve your fence as it exists because it's over 8 feet. So what we need you to do is tell us what you're willing to mitigate it to, and then we can approve that, possibly. But we need to know, you need to understand that we can't approve it as it is.
Right.
And you need to lower it in some places, or in other instances, reconfigure it. If you want to maintain that peninsula, which seems to follow the driveway, I don't know, you should lower the fence.
To 4 feet, but then the deer
Yeah.
get in even more.
Well, I mean,
David, is deer fencing suitable for pool fencing?
what is it?
I don't think we should be answering code.
Well, because I think, because there's,
Depends if there's mesh fencing, the deer fencing, the mesh deer fencing can be suitable for pool fencing, but I'd have to look at the specific fencing, and kind of
Okay,
Okay, so the building inspector is going to pick up whether or not this is proper pool fencing. I'm concerned that
Right.
it's not. But so the thing that we're telling you is I think the board would entertain if you cut all your fencing down to 8 feet. The fence, the poles, everything. We don't usually approve that, but in this case, because of your remote location and the situation, we might or could approve it, but you're going to have to conform to what the rules are. And you're way over 8 feet in almost the whole backyard, because I walked around the backyard and measured everything.
That was going to be my next question is, do you know where?
Everywhere. The far back, directly behind the pool, the right side by the gates, and the left side by the gates. And so I don't think there's any place on that fencing where it's 8 feet.
Okay. And I think there's one other recommendation, right?
Well, the gates are 7 feet.
Yeah, they're also too big.
The gates are 7 feet 6 inches. Let me see.
Oh, I thought you said 6 feet.
No,
So
he says
7.
they're over 7 feet,
Here. 7
7.5 feet. Everything is too tall.
and 7. I also, I
The
mean,
pair of gates on themselves are 163 and 165.
I think so. Let's discuss
The
that.
gates are 6'3" and 6'5".
that's what yes.
Oh,
I thought you
6'3".
did say that.
Oh,
Yes,
I
yes,
thought
yes.
you said
Sorry,
7.
let's change that.
Is the plastic mesh legal
Dear
fencing material? I thought I thought you had to have wire, not plastic, because the plastic is, the animals can get caught in there.
Yeah.
I mean, they can get caught in the wire too, but the plastic is harder. Is that a thing?
Well, especially if he's using it as
David?
a pool fence.
Yeah.
I'd have to look into that.
Okay. Okay. All right. All right.
And what about, and then the recommendation on the peninsula?
You got to square it off.
Square it
I would just square it off.
If I want to.
I think if you want to maintain, I'm inclined to let it stand at 8 feet if you were to take it out of the front yard.
Square.
You know, because once you're beyond the facade of the house, we consider that the side yard. Do you understand what I mean? The very front of your house.
Yeah, I get
So
it.
if it goes from there, then at least we can justify it against our rules by saying, well, it's in the side yard and not the front yard.
Right.
Okay?
Yep.
Okay, so why don't you come back to us with your next proposal?
Right. So basically, all I have to do is obviously fix that.
Yeah, we'll send you a follow-up letter with recommendations.
Okay.
So that it'll be kind of like a to-do list for you so that it's clarified.
Wife's gonna be like, "You didn't write any notes."
It's a honey-do list.
And that way, you can refer to that. I mean, it's not, those are recommendations. It doesn't mean that once that is filled, it's an automatic approval, but it gives you a written review of what we did here today.
So once those to-do lists are complete,
Then you can resubmit and we'll take another look and then hopefully all those changes will lead to your approval.
and then resubmitting is a new application, or resubmitting is?
Well, you'd have to, it would be new because you're going to make changes, right? You're going to cut down the fence and maybe reposition it in the front yard and so on. So
So a
that's,
second application,
yeah.
So another $700?
No.
No, no.
Just a new submission.
No, just you're going to be resubmitting.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah, no, I
you've
just wanted to
begun the
make sure.
process now.
Yeah.
You've gotten our feedback.
Right.
So it's not a new application, it's just a revised application as part of that, your original fee,
Got it.
okay?
You measure from the ground to the top, and that space cannot be more than 8 feet.
Yeah,
The
from the
poles,
ground to the
you have a
top.
wire that goes across the top too, and the poles are sometimes a little higher than the fence. Everything has to be at 8 feet or under.
Right. Yeah, everything.
Yeah.
And I see people, they do the little wire, they go 6 feet and then they do the little wiring on top. That's considered a fence, right?
Yeah,
That's
well,
considered 8
it's a
feet.
way
not
around,
6 feet,
yeah, it's a way around it, yeah.
But no,
No,
it's a part of the structure, so you're actually exceeding the height.
You would be over.
Correct.
You would be over whatever, yes, okay, got it.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right, great. Okay, agricultural overlay, number 11, Suffolk County Tax Act number 300-196-1-24. Esperanza, this is yours. I assume this crowd of people is here for this
Oh, it's not as
big
big
blue
a
marble.
crowd.
Yeah, we've been having a big night here. How are you guys? Nice to see you. Oh, I remember you. You had all the good indigenous plantings on your, yeah, we liked that. Yeah.
Lost my little planner report. Hold on. Oh, here it is. So, welcome. Hi.
How are you?
So you are coming back a second time around, and I'm not going to say a whole lot because I would like for you to take us through what you have changed. I mean, I could go ahead and read your wonderful complete letter indicating the things. I could just sort of outline them right now. Regarding our incomplete letter in response to that for this application, which is in this subdivision off Wainscott Hollow Road in Wainscott. We had indicated that the access driveway, the common driveway, needed to be completed before a CO. We understand that's not holding up this project in particular, just would hold up your CO if it's not completed. So one of our recommendations was also to please decrease the mass and scale of the development. And you responded, we have provided additional studies to clarify that the proposed home has been designed to minimize the visual impact of the building's mass along the reserve with the longer facade perpendicular to the reserve. And you go on to say you've provided imagery indicating that the existing approved home on Lot 4, as well as potential building envelope massing for lots 5 and 6 are included to, I guess, show the context. And you've also included renderings from different view corridors. So, oh, yeah, we're looking at all of that right now, I guess. You got ahead of me.
It'd be good to look at it.
So really just to see where this proposed residence would be visible from different views. The design changes to address the mass and scale concerns, you indicate you have broken the long gable that runs perpendicular to the, and broken is in quotes, so that runs perpendicular to the reserve property line. This breaks down the mass of the longer gable into 2 smaller roofs. So we'll take a look at that. You propose planting a number of trees along the reserve facade to maintain the open meadow nature of the landscape design while creating some visual screening between the home and the reserve. You've removed the tennis court completely, and that will be predominantly unmanicured meadow of indigenous plant material and partly a lawn panel. And that has enabled you to move the home 30 feet farther away from the reserve. And finally, you've removed the generator and the generator enclosure from the scope and replaced the paved dining bosque with softscape and a small orchard. A couple of other things are you've lowered the heights of the chimneys by 18 inches from 37 feet to 35 and a half. And the volume of glazing, you're saying, please consider the volume of glazing which will permit significant light outside the building during nighttime hours and affect the view. Oh, okay, that was our comment. So you're proposing reducing the glazing along the Sayers Path facade, which is to the east, by approximately 331.5 square feet by replacing the continuous ribbon windows with vertical casements in punched openings in the cedar facade. And the package also provides a graphic analysis indicating that the amount of unshielded glazing you're proposing on the reserve side is significantly lower than in the approved Lot 4 project. And it should be noted that 100% of your ground floor windows on this facade are recessed 4 feet to 20 feet beyond the overhang of the second floor. Please provide the you've provided the specifications for the solar panels and a lighting plan. So, sorry, I did go through it all. It was so thorough.
Thank you for that recap. That's
Thank you.
that's concise and
Before, you did also receive a copy of the, or you've seen a copy of our planner evaluation?
yes.
Okay, good.
So Dan Thorpe, the client's landscape architect for LaGuardia Design, I think, and the architects are here as well, but the changes were more significant, I think, on the site design and site planning side. So we'll lead, the presentation kind of leads with that, and then the architects can touch on some of the things they did to bring down the mass and scale of the house. But we can, since you just recapped it so nicely, we'll move through this quickly.
Well, we can,
Go slowly
yeah,
through
to go through them, and you can actually
Okay.
describe those changes, that would be great.
Great, so this is a site plan in red showing the new home that's been shifted, the new placement of the home, which has been shifted 30 feet back from our previous application. The elements dashed in red are hardscape portions of the site that have been replaced with softscape. So, I mean, the big takeaways are the tennis court's been completely removed and has been replaced with not lawn, but with native meadows. The generator as well has been removed and replaced with planting. The terrace next to the tennis court has been removed and replaced with meadow. That allowed us to then kind of look at the plan with fresh eyes and realize that it'd be actually beneficial to the experience of the site to pull back from the reserve a bit. So the house has been shifted back 30 feet. The hardscape, the total hardscape has reduced in coverage by just about 8,000 square feet. And then on top of that, there are architectural changes to bring down the scale of the house. So the next plan, this one, so the next plan has a lot more green, much more friendly kind of plan. The reserve side of the house, because we pulled back the building, that allowed us to slip some more trees and greenery between the house and the reserve. You'll see that on later renderings. So from the public road side and from the reserve side, the house is now kind of recessed behind foliage and canopy. This is a plan, it's pretty similar. This is the fencing in Gates' plan. It's pretty similar to what we had shown you before, where all the pool fencing is kind of shrouded in foliage, except for a few spots very close to the house. And the garden gates are simple, just wood frame gates. The lighting plan is night skies compliant. It's all path lighting. There's no up lighting being proposed. So this is where we're at now with the house pulled back. The other buildings have been kind of masked up just for reference, but you can see where the last lot, with the house being pulled back, the trees act as kind of a veil in front of the building. This is it at night. And then this is, again, you can see how the trees act as kind of a foil in front of the building, but what this drawing was most intended to show is that the first lot, the building on the first lot is 40 feet longer than the house that's being proposed on our lot.
That's a lot.
And then our lot at night.
Yeah, about 150 square feet more glazed.
Yeah. And then these are some renderings where before we had a tennis court in the foreground, it's now native meadows and native trees and more reminiscent. It kind of echoes what's going on in the farm field beyond. We love the idea of just kind of pulling that all the way through the site. So, yeah.
We also removed that. There was a remark last time about.
These are more architectural changes now. So
Thaddeus Briner, nice to see you again.
Welcome.
So if you just go back to the last rendering. Yeah, there was a comment last time about, it seemed that the house was elevated or unnaturally elevated. So part of that was that we had a retaining, like a garden wall.
Yes, I
So that's been
remember.
removed now. We still have a little bit of hedge between the lawn panel and the meadow. But it does seem to sit in the landscape a little bit nicer now. Again, mostly trees with the house 30 feet back. You can also start to see how we broke up that volume to the right. We took about 34 feet off of gable, which was also about 8 feet high. So it went from about 130-foot long gable to 96 feet of gable total. It also allowed us to get the solar panels that we had on the left-hand side of the pool house all onto the flat area of the house now. So no one will see any solar panels. It's about 430 square feet of panels.
Sorry, the solar panels are going on the pool house? Is that
No,
what
they were on the pool house, on the gable, which actually faced Wainscott Hollow.
Okay.
So we're putting them on the flat portion that we have now. Since we took off the gable, we have more flat roof at about 23.5 feet or so. So you won't see the profile or the reflectivity of the
that's
solar
nice.
panels
Yeah.
anywhere on the gables.
Very thoughtful.
This also just lets you know about the chimneys getting a little smaller, about 18 inches. And then you start to see the two of the windows that we made smaller, those two little slots, if you will, next to the flat area, right below the first chimney. That was a bigger window, became two smaller ones. Yep. And then this an elevation to sort of encapsulate the big moves, showing that 34-foot portion of gable removed. You see the ribbon window replaced by the punched openings and the smaller chimneys. And then this, again, explaining a little bit more the little bit harsher renderings than our other ones, but just that you can keep going through these. Yep, this last window. That was existing and then pushed back, just before and after. Yep. That's about it for us.
Okay, thank you.
Well, you mentioned lights. There's no uplights. There's no architectural uplighting.
Well done.
We had some shielded uplighting underneath soffits. That's all gone now.
Good for you.
Those are the big moves.
Yeah. Does anybody have any questions for the applicant or for Esperanza?
I would just leave it now if you have comments starting from either end or however you want to go. I would just point out that there were changes made to mitigate the impact of the volumes, but the actual square footage GFA has not changed.
Which is what?
Not substantially. The GFA is 7,728 square feet.
I think it's been extremely sensitive to our remarks, extremely. And I think the idea that you've removed the tennis court, I mean, that's a big concession to go from a hardscape to a meadow, a native meadow. I mean, I'm very, very impressed.
Yeah, I echo those thoughts. I mean, I think that my thoughts are that, first off, I think a lot of people on the board and probably the town feel wish that this lot weren't even developed because it's but it is what it is. My thoughts are, I think there are times in which we need to recognize when we have a good application on our hands, and I think this is one of them. In terms of massing and scale, it's not a small house, but I do think that a good effort has been made. A key thing to think about, I think, is how the mass and scale are composed within the site. And I think the architect and the landscape architect have done a good job with that. One thing that has concerned me, can you go back to that one slide, which I think is compelling about this, is the zoning of this the concern would be that you get almost like railroad cars built along
We
these
talked about that, I
zoning.
think, remember.
And I think the composition of this massing doesn't do that, which I think is very appealing. I think even if this like very sensitive landscape plan, if some owner 20 years from now and came and just bulldozed the meadow and cut down half the trees, I still think that we would have a good application on our hands. So I think
Well,
it's very
heaven forbid.
sensitive. I think it's well composed. I think the materials are great. We don't have a generator. I think it's a strong application.
Okay. Did you want to add anything?
No, I was waiting for you.
Oh, okay, okay. Well, I want to thank you for, making some substantial changes to the site. I take Esperanza's point that the massing hasn't really changed much, but I see that the fenestration, one of the things we worry about is the light from these buildings as it appears from the reserve side, that these are vistas that have been dark and will now have light. So that's an adjustment for everybody. But I do think that removing the tennis court and repositioning the house, 30 feet, the way you did was a really great idea, and I thank you for that, because we don't usually get that kind of cooperation in our recommendations. It's usually like, well, we'll take a foot, or something. So anyway, I
Can use the neighbor's tennis court.
I too wish it was a little smaller, but I think you've done a good job, with what you've been tasked to do and what we've asked you to do. I think you did respond generously to our requests for the most part. So I'm okay with it. Sorry, Mooney, you're up.
I'm up. No, I agree that removing the tennis court is it's very gratifying in this area in particular, where it seems every home that goes up that's new, or even not new homes, put up a tennis court, so you have one after the other. And it does also impact how the homes are sited, so that helped for you to draw it back from the reserve. To be frank, I think I sent a picture, Julie, that I took from Sayers Path, because, we're talking about public vistas, we're talking about this particularly sensitive area of Wainscott Hollow Road, which, as Frank said, I think we'd all prefer it not be developed. You want to zoom into that a little bit? This is through a neighbor's property, granted, but it's totally visible, this whole subdivision. And I'm just thinking about how, despite the changes that you made in fenestration, and I do think it's an appealing design. They're still substantial volumes in my mind, so I still have trouble with it, unfortunately, as it will present to me pretty much equally large as what's there now.
Okay. Well, I think that we need to make a motion on this. I take your point, but I think the rest of the board feels that it's okay. So do you want to call for a
public hearing, you mean?
Yeah. Yeah, back in the day when we thought we were going to do that. Yeah.
We'd have to vote on that anyway. All right, well, if you'd like for me to make a motion, I'll make a motion.
But I don't think that we have enough I think everybody else is sort of favorably disposed, so, and I take your point. I don't want you to feel that I don't understand that, I do. But I don't think we're gonna, nobody, unless you have a recommendation besides what you've already said, I think we've got to
I
move
think
on
that's all I
this.
can say. I
Yeah.
would recommend it still be revisited as far as how large it is as it presents on the landscape, because we'll have more of these coming.
Yeah.
And I will say, with that in mind, I wouldn't mind hearing what, the public would have to say about it.
What public?
What do you mean by that?
Well, at one point, we talked about having public hearings for some of these larger projects, and we'd have to vote on that, also, to conduct a public hearing on this. We'd have to vote to have a public hearing. So, and I would imagine at this point in the board's decision-making that they may not be disposed towards a public hearing. But I think we should, hear Esperanza out and decide if we're going to do that or not.
Well, I think there's 4 people in favor of this application and 1 that's not, so I think we need to move forward and vote on it. I mean, we can't just stop it because 1 person has.
No, that's not what she's saying, Chip, you're misunderstanding. What happens, and we've talked about this, but we haven't
don't have it
employed it
now.
yet.
Right.
We haven't employed it yet, but we've talked about where some of these larger projects that we think may have, that the public may be interested in commenting on, that we have the power to conduct a public hearing, at which point we would hear from the public.
Right.
So we could say this application is complete, and we would put it up for public hearing if the board feels that they would like to hear from the public, to see what the public thinks about this particular development project in this area. Or we could vote on it tonight. Because Esperanza is suggesting that the public may have.
But really, wasn't that a consideration when the town subdivided this property and they knew this was what was going to happen 10 years ago, or whenever the
No,
subdivision?
well, they're separate considerations. The public hearing is specific for each individual
Lot
application within that.
Yeah, it's not,
There probably was a public hearing on the subdivision when the
Yes,
subdivision
there
was
was.
approved, so.
It was like 14 years, or a long time.
That is
of-
separate
I
from.
think I was on the
hearing
planning
board.
board when it finally came to an end. It was one of the first applications I had. That was almost 10 years ago now, so.
Well, I will say that this is not the first time we're seeing this application. So this came before us, I think, in the spring. So this has been in the public realm.
Different. That's a very different.
Let him finish
This
his
has been
point.
in the
Yeah.
public realm. It's been on record. I think if there was a community issue with this, I think I'm hesitant to speak on whether this merits a public hearing or not, but what I will say is it's definitely known that there are 4 lots that have been zoned for development. Now, what I'm saying is it's not like this is the first time we were reviewing this. This is our previous meeting is online. It's been out there in the public realm about this for many months. So we have received no letters about this in objection, as far as I'm aware. We haven't received any letters regarding this development. It's been on the agenda before. We put it on the agenda, so.
Right, well,
It was what you're
Just-
saying.
It's not like the public didn't have access to what was.
right, the public has access to our agenda, just like anybody,
No,
it's
but they
publicized,
also-
right. But let me just explain to you what the public hearing process is. I'm not sure I would vote for it, frankly, but I'm just trying to explain to you what it was we were trying to introduce by saying we may conduct public hearings now. The ARB hasn't done that in a really long time. And we reviewed all this last year, and we set up some protocols for it. And one of the protocols would be exactly what we've done now, which is to review the application to the point where we feel we have done what we can to mitigate any impacts that we feel are, whatever, not in harmony the community and so on. And then we would issue a finding of completeness, meaning the application has checked all the boxes. There's nothing that we need to know from them. Now we put it before the public to get the public to have input on it. That's how the public hearing process works. So the fact that we've seen it a couple times that's how it works. That's what we would do, because we made initial comments to them. They've come back to us with another submission. And in this current configuration, 4 of us are in favor of it. 1 may not be. We haven't taken that vote, but we don't know. But I think it's.
It is possible that the public was waiting to comment because they were told at the end of last year that large ag overlay applications would have public hearings.
Yeah, we did say that at some point. So I think we just have to decide, whether this is one of those that we want to put to public hearing.
If I may also, that includes notification of neighbors who would be directly affected by this. So that makes a difference, because regardless of whether building or construction is going on, right behind you or next door to you, you don't necessarily take it upon yourself to.
Wouldn't it be better to have done this public hearing
now
without regard to a specific application, but set apart a superstructure to have these rather than reacting to this one application?
No, it's done on an application by application.
Yeah, it's done on a case-by-case basis,
Did we ever create the superstructure to have these public hearings?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we did it last year. You're just forgetting it. We spent a
we've
fair
never
amount
done
of
it.
time because we have not yet employed it. That's what would make this different.
It was
is
intended
this-
for residential developments and ag overlay.
Okay.
Yeah, it was kind of exactly.
It seems to me that we haven't suggested a public hearing for the other, I think, 3 properties that we have approved.
Correct.
And all of which I feel are not nearly as sensitive to the circumstances as this one. So if there was ever to be a public hearing, we should have had it for one of those. I mean,
Perhaps, and I would agree with you.
I don't disagree with that. I think, I think we're new at this, so we're trying to figure it out, and we're trying to do what we feel is in the best interests of the community here. So, yes, sir.
Can I also add one more thing, which is, to Diane's point, as far as I know, those other 2 projects or 3 that we've approved this year in ag overlays, we haven't received any complaints from the public saying these were approved. This has not been public enough. So it's not like there's been any objection by the public to how we're operating at the moment.
Yeah, no, I know,
I don't think we respond. A public hearing doesn't respond to public outcry to begin with.
it's not
I don't think that's the
I
point.
think we're making an assumption. It sounds to me, my interpretation is that we're making an assumption that we're moving forward on an application improperly.
No, not at all.
We were, by not holding, that's what I'm.
No, that's not the
reading.
suggestion. Well, then let me rephrase it. That's not the suggestion. And frankly, I don't think we would have to vote to conduct a public hearing, and I don't think it would pass tonight. If I were to say, I make a motion to hold a public hearing on this, I don't think it would vote.
Not
It would
given the
pass.
discussion.
So let's do
I said
that.
not given this discussion.
No, but what I want to explain to Frank what I'm talking about is this is about, and I am glad Esperanza brought it up because we should be employing it more frequently. And Diane's observation about some of the others that we have passed, I think is a useful.
I would say that those were already in the pipeline before the board decided to do the public hearings.
They were, and I think there are also, if some of them are, in secluded areas that can't be seen by the public, it's a different matter. Some of
150 square foot addition.
yeah, it really kind of depends on the project, which is why it is done on a case by case basis. Where is it? How big is the construction, and so on. But I think we need to be better at reviewing when a project might benefit from public input. We don't know, and so Yeah, I think if you think you'd like to do that, I think you should make the motion, and then we'll see if it'll carry, unless you
Yeah, I
don't.
mean, I would make that motion.
Okay.
I mean, it's up to you all to vote the way.
Yeah, we'll vote on it, yeah. So make the motion, please.
So how do I make that motion?
Say I make a motion to conduct a public hearing. To deem this application complete and to conduct a public hearing.
Okay, I make a motion.
Go to vote, can
Oh,
we speak?
Dan did
Oh, yeah,
request
sorry,
to speak.
Sure.
This is an application where we spoke about intensity of development and the problem with intensity of development in the area. And I don't disagree that in the future, public hearings, giving people the right to speak out about what's happening in their community, I agree with that. However, this is an application where we went back to the client. The whole reason he bought this lot was because it could fit a tennis court. And we went back to him and expressed the merits of removing the tennis court, pulling the house back from the reserve, and kind of honoring the what's beautiful about the site and what's beautiful about the area, and not just obliterating it with development. And he saw the merits in that. He signed on for redesign and more redesign, and we've been doing that in good faith. And I feel like to almost punish us in a way by having us be the kind of linchpin to public hearings feels.
You notified in the application that you might have a public hearing to begin with when you fill out the application. It's part of the original, it's
Yeah.
form, that it's on the.
Yeah,
He's on notice when he submitted it.
yeah, that disclosure has been held. I think you would do well to just let us have our vote. So Esperanza, would you
Okay.
make the motion, please?
I make a motion to deem this application complete and to proceed to conduct a public hearing on the application.
Okay, may I have a second, please? I'll second it. All in favor?
No.
I'm asking who's in favor. Then I will ask for opposed. Who's in favor? Mooney, I assume you're in favor. Yes, okay. And how many people are opposed?
Opposed.
One.
I'm not voting in favor of it.
Are you abstaining?
No.
You're opposed.
Okay, I oppose.
You have to, you can vote yes.
I think what I resent is that I feel like I'm being asked to deny the public input, and I deeply resent that, frankly.
I take your point.
So
I take your point.
this is not, just for the record, I'm not voting to deny public input.
Yeah.
I'm voting because the way I'm voting is I don't support what's being proposed.
Well,
So,
Yeah, I get it. Okay,
so
it's a
legally, I
qualified-
oppose.
Yeah, it's, I understand. Yeah, I feel similarly. I don't, yeah, I'm not in support of a public hearing in this instance, but I do wish that I want us to be more comprehensive about applying that principle going forward, because we spent a lot of time making that policy, and we have yet to employ it. So thank you, Esperanza, for keeping us honest.
sorry to extend your stay.
And then, so we'll need a motion to approve this, I think.
Okay.
If you would make that motion, please.
I will make the motion to approve the application as submitted.
May I have a second, please?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
I'm opposed.
and Esperanza's opposed.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. All right, issuance of certificates of occupancy, Stephen Prus, Suffolk County Tax Net number 300-102. Oh, no, we pulled this, right? We pulled this, thank you.
Well, you can read it in and then we'll say that.
Stephen Bruce, did you want to discuss why you're not going to approve the CO? Or did you already do that with the extension of time?
We did it,
Well, we kind of did, but
we did it, yeah.
But you can, I mean, we can certainly make that more official if you feel the need to do that.
Why don't you just reference what we talked about? Yeah.
Well, I would, for that application for Stephen Prus, I would say that the driveway gate as built does not comport with the resolution.
Okay, great. I don't think I read the number in anyway. Suffolk County Tax Net number 300-102-7-10. So we will send Mr. Prus follow-up letter that details what needs to be done in order to achieve an approval. Okay, number 13, 70 Beach Lane, N2J LLC, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-200-2-17. Chip, this is yours.
Julie, would you bring up the photos so everyone will remember this sweet little house?
I remember the call.
Oh, I remember that. Gosh, that was one of our first outings. Remember, it was like 8 degrees. Lordy.
So this is an application to move towards a C of O for the Cape Cod house with the glass pavilion in the backyard that we last considered at our January 27th, 2022 meeting. The 1.3 acre lot is in an agricultural overlay. At that meeting, we approved a 31-foot by 5-foot dormer across the back of the house, new double-hung Anderson windows with simulated divided lights, the existing glass pavilion at 338 square feet, removing 2 exterior sconces on the west wall and 2 interior sconces on the north and south walls of the glass pavilion, and then an existing exterior shower off the back of the house. So there are photos of all of this. All this has been accomplished, and I applaud the owners for saving and working with this simply elegant property.
Okay. Anybody have any questions for Chip? No. Any?
No.
Okay. You want to make a motion then,
I
Chip?
make a motion to approve this application. I make a motion to approve this application for a request for a certificate of occupancy and instruct staff to notify the building department that is ready for a C of O.
Okay. May I have a second, please?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Did everybody get a chance to sign the resolutions? Okay. All right. So the resolutions that we're signing tonight are 221 Panago Road LLC, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-188-1-13.1, Street Food on the Green, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-49-1-22, D'Amelio Garden, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-199-4-6, Jenny and Robert Vorhoff, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-172-4-23, Stanzione/Greenberg, extension of time. Did we do that? Did we vote on that extension of time? Okay. The Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-159-4-3 and Menzel LLC, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-189-6-7.1. Okay, that's it for tonight. Thank you, board. Thank you, our brilliant counsel, David McMaster. Thank you, Julie Akala, for being 2 people tonight and all day today. And I really appreciate this board and your perspectives and your hard work. Good night, everyone. I need a motion to adjourn, please.
Second.
Someone needs to
I
make
make
the
a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second. Okay. Bye.